Welcome back, everybody. This is Andrew Wright with another Review the Right Thing, coming to you today with an album review. So how is everybody? Hopefully everybody's getting along really well. And without wasting too much time, let's just get into this. New Venom Prison, Erebos, just came out February 4th. So I was fortunate enough to snag that record about a week ago. But I've been listening to it quite a bit ever since. It's a pretty awesome album. Those of you familiar with Venom Prison or not, they are a death metal band that mixes a lot of elements of hardcore, coming from Wales, UK, and pretty amazing stuff. So this album definitely does a little bit different than what their past two releases are like. They have two albums prior to this, also one that's kind of like a re-recording of some older songs, which isn't really a proper album, but so they've got those three releases, but this being their third studio album, definitely you can see where the band kind of growing and changing a little bit, adding some elements of different music into their overall crushing sound, kind of adding a little bit of melody to that, and with some pretty awesome results in my opinion. So first track opens up, Born into Chaos. Is like an opener track, so a little bit of ambience and some awesome atmosphere, kind of like a gust of wind before a thunderstorm approaches. End of the song kind of starts getting a little bit heavier, adding the drums, and with some screaming of the title of the album, Erebos, before the next track basically brings in what we kind of come to expect from Venom Prison as far as the sound. Judges of the Underworld rips open the album, and like I said, from here it kind of sounds pretty much like what we would expect out of Venom Prison. Lots of heavy riffs, very crushing, but something seems a little bit different. Vocals here are still really heavy, however, they've got like a little bit higher, pitch to them a little bit. Harsher, kind of almost like black metal-y kind of scream at times, which, she typically has like that kind of harsher vocal pattern too, but it definitely sounds a little bit different on this album. Still lots of, guttural vocals in there as well. So it's, still keeps the heavy. And in this song in particular, there's almost like these ethereal, haunting vocals kind of layered in over top that add that little bit of melody to the sound. But still, by the time the breakdown hits here and she starts screaming, "Are you the oppressor or the oppressed?" You're definitely just like really into it at that point. I mean, it just sounds like those heavy breakdowns that you come to expect from Venom Prison, in my opinion. As we get into the song Nemesis, you begin to see where the album starts to pull from other metal and various non-metal elements and begins to add that into their sound. The band has definitely improved and matured in their songwriting and isn't afraid to show us that. There are several moments on this album, beginning with Comfort and Complicity, where they really sound like the Swedes to me, and they kind of add that Swedish melodic metal to the mix. And if they're not borrowing from the Swedes, it's almost as if they're borrowing from the early 2000s, things like Unearth, As I Lay Dying, with those like very melodic death metal riffs. This album definitely has some parts where I'm not as much of a fan of. Castigated in Steel starts off really strong, but then has these moments with some melody that I don't really care for when they kind of add those, it kind of reminds me of just that style's early 2000s, early metalcore, that kind of chorusy thing thrown over her screaming. You've got that background of the clean vocals kind of thrown in there. And where it works in a couple songs on here, it didn't really work for me on this track. However, I like the elements of softness that are brought in other places though. Like in Pain of Oisies, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the way that song builds, a lot of the melody in that song is really, really cool, and I really love that piano in there. It just hits the right little chords for me. However, going back to Castigated in Steel, I really like a lot of the riffs in that album, and it's still a really cool song. So overall, I think this album definitely adds some elements that are really cool, and I think it really works really well for the band. However, there's still no shortage of vicious breakdowns in this album, and heavy guttural vocals, like I said at the beginning, and still doesn't sound like Venom Prison has really sacrificed anything of their core sound. The couple more melodic changes that I didn't like, it's just me being picky, however, they're really not that bad, and it's just the inner headbanger in me just not wanting bands that really sacrifice anything from their original sound. I just want everybody to keep it heavy, but I understand you kind of have to. you know, try things differently, expand your horizons to a different audience. Even me as I get older, you know, I'm not sacrificing anything as far as the heavy music that I like, but I've also broadened a lot, you know, and why couldn't I expect a musician to do the same and incorporate that into their music? However, in the end, I think this album is super solid. You give me tracks like Judges of the Underworld, Comfort of Complicity, Pain of Oases. Like I said, I love that little piano in there. Gorgon Sisters, Veil of Night. Those are some pretty awesome tracks. Rest of the album still being really great. For me, I'm really feeling probably an 8 out of 10 on this one. So what about you guys? How did you feel about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you like the changes that Venom Prison have made? Are you familiar with their old stuff? Why don't you go give it a spin? Let's talk about them in the comments. I hope you guys liked the video today. I'll try to get some more music reviews up there here very soon. Like I've mentioned my last video, I wanted to get a Saba review out because, man, that album is just so damn good. So I wouldn't mind talking about that one and kind of giving, you know, my little 2 cents about it. So anyways, hope you guys like. And if you do, please subscribe to my channel. I'll continue to get videos up as often as I can. I'm trying to make that a new schedule, like I've said in the last video, get back out in there in 2022 instead of, you know, just kind of letting this channel go to waste. So now we're on second video of 2022, trying to keep it going. And so click the little bell. It'll notify you guys whenever I put up new content. Subscribe to my channel and appreciate everything. Hope you enjoy. And this has been Review the Right Thing. Thanks guys, and peace.